it's me, Skill, the owner of 42 Gaming, a known giveaway kiddo, and a skillful case opener. It's finally time for me to start working on this thing. I promised, for a year now, the complete history of 42 Gaming. It was probably 9 or so months ago I decided to do this. But, why is it taking me that long, you ask? I don't know. This will probably be split up into different parts, otherwise it will be a 9-hour video of me just talking, and nobody wants that. Even good old Stargate would mute his speakers after 5 seconds. This will detail our rises and falls. Wait, can you even say that? It will detail our journey from the start up to now, how things were and how things changed. How some people were here and how some people still are here, but some people still aren't here. Oh, that sentence is so fucked. A lot of our history has been preserved in the form of old videos, old forums with 15,000 posts on them. Maybe not exactly that many, but you get the idea. Estogamo, our cameraman, has, recorded many of our Napoleonic Wars events on his free YouTube accounts that you can ask him to link you. We also have a playlist of all our different kinds of events and stuff like that. I will link it in the description and remind me if I forget, because I probably will. And also as an agreement in this, Stargate will make a similar video in 10 years in the future or something like that. Looking back at the good old days, yeah. Nah, I'm kidding, of course. Don't make that face, Stargate. No, please. So anyways, I will of course try and be as neutral as possible when telling our story from my own perspective. But as our good old friend Professor Oak taught us in Pokemon, history is written by the survivors. Oh wait, we already have a question from somebody. Hey Skill, it's me Dawn. Are you going to highlight any of the dramas that took place? I mean, obviously yes, because many of our changes come from the different dramas we've had. Because it shows how we, used to be naive and allowed people to fuck us over, and how we learned from the mistakes so that those dramas never happened again. I mean, until the next one occurred, but, Besides, many of our big dramas are at this point very outdated because they took place over 6 years ago. Oh wait, actually, scratch that, because something, actually recently happened while making a script even. But we'll probably get to that in the last video or something like that. We'll see. And obviously some dramas will be completely excluded, because there were times things went way too far. And I can already hear complaints about this, but that's how it is. But anyways, before delaying this any further, on to the main point here. Here is the beginning of the history of 42 Gaming. Let me bring you back to the past. I had just turned 21, and I've just finished the time at my first ever job. Due to not working, I had a lot of time on my hands. I already spent a lot of times in different Half-Life 2 mods that I could find. And I did come over some videos of Battlegrounds 2. I had tried Battlegrounds 2 when it first came out, but I didn't play it that much. But then you saw a video of Lime Battles and you were like, oh shit, I need to play that shit. I need to be there and get shot at from people on the other side of the map. So even though I had played BG2 for a very long time, obviously I hadn't really gotten into the clans yet, because I wanted that somebody came to me and were like, hey, you there, we would like you to be one of us. And you should never expect that, because every server you're on, they always spam freaking join us for Lime Battles. Oh my god, we are so different from this other clan that do Lime Battle. As a pubber coming into this, it's like, what the hell? But it all came down though to one night in August 2010, while I was playing a public line battle. Everybody in my line got killed in, a volley. But so I was the last one left of my line. But somehow I managed to live up to my name and actually take out the remaining 7 enemies that were charging at me. And everybody in chat, they cheered. I did a good job, I saved the day, yeah. The big mystery came though. The following day I had a new friends request on Steam. Somebody named Shane. He had been watching me last night and, said, oh my god, you did so good in that line battle. We would like you to join this clan called the 47th. And I had really never been in a clan before that. I had only played with friends from high school and such when we played like Battlefield 2. So I was like, oh, let's see what this kind of life is. So I made an application on their forum, and a few days later a match was scheduled on Freeman's Farm. The worst freaking scrim map ever. But it was a 5v5 scrim, and even, our boy Joker of Hell was on the opposing team. Well, we lost the match to them, obviously, and it turns out that this guy Shane, the match he had scheduled, he wasn't allowed to schedule, and the leadership of the 47th were going at him and shit like that, because such a bad thing he had done. I mean, honestly, I still don't understand this one. But Shane left 47th after this, with some notable people, such as Greedy Chris, Viper, and towards, the end of August this was kinda. Together they created 42 Commando, 42 CDO, and I asked Shane about this, and he said that he wanted me to join them, rather than being in 47th. And since, he was the one that recruited me, I thought, let's stick with him, why not? So on the 4th of September 2010, I officially became a member. I didn't make an application though, but don't tell anybody, please. The following days, people like Joe, Vader, and even Ninja Tiger joined. And on the 10th of October, our first TeamSpeak was launched, and our second forums went live. We had like some free forum thingy before that sadly I can't access anymore, otherwise I would have more to tell you about this time on who joined and who didn't, but that's sadly lost to history at this point. And it was a bit mystical in the beginning, because a few people knew each other closely and others didn't. In the first couple of months, people like PMH, Chaos Power, and Stargate, who was our first American member, by the way, and they are still with us today, so was a good time, yeah. But the first main problem we had is that the guy called Vader provided us with a server for Battlegrounds 2. For free. He didn't ask any payment. He even gave some of us admin, like me, and I wasn't even in leadership back then. But the big problem was that Shane didn't trust him. So it was, however, decided that Shane should be removed from leadership, because he wasn't that very good of a leader in general. He usually shit-talked the other clans, even though we got massacred in the scrim we had, and as punishment he had us, stare at the grass. No joke. We literally had to stand there and stare at the grass on strange ways, yeah. But Greedy Chris and some other higher-ups, they demoted Shane and kicked him for his behaviors and lack of respect to Vader. Joe, who Greedy Chris knew in real life, suggested a system that we could have for leadership, a committee system. And this was discussed a little bit back and forth, and in November 2010 we had the first official committee election, where Joe, Greedy Chris, Vader, Viper, and a guy called Danny got elected as the leaders. And it was also suggested that we needed to have a kind of centralized leadership called the Central Committee to keep an overview of everything, and that became Yo, Chris, and Vader. However, there was a problem though, because Viper, who had been one of the founders, now had to share his power with people he didn't know very well, and he made it feel like he was no longer in charge and other people could very easily overrule him. He created a little rebellion. I was even part of it. What can I say? He gave me a pretty convincing story on Steam. But it was far from the truth of the actual situation. But I didn't know that, fucking hell. He was shot down by Danny though, and left afterwards for the first time. He, came back a couple of times and left again. But the full context of his rebellion was then revealed to me, because I talked to the others, and I'm actually surprised they didn't kick me right there on the spot. But after, a long conversation with them, they expressed forgiveness, because I didn't know the full context, so they, couldn't judge me for it. They could have, but they didn't, but yeah. And obviously, since I'm making this video, it's pretty obvious that I stayed, right? There was, however, now an open committee spot, so we needed to have an election for that, and I was actually surprised when I was one of the first nominated, and I was even more surprised when I won the election and became the fifth guy with the others. And in December we received word from another clan looking to merge with us, and this is where Joker of Hell, Cookie, Elite, as we know him, others know him as Johan, the Duck, and others joined us. So this was the first like big surge of members that we got, and it boosted our activity in game, on TeamSpeak, and the forums. We even had to like increase our TeamSpeak slots specifically for this, because a lot of people came in and they wanted to sit there with the rest of us. And it became very annoying when, you know, I tried joining the TeamSpeak and it said that the server was full, and I had to ask them, hey, can you kick one of the recruits so I can come in, please? The clan that merged with us was allowed to put 2 of their leaders as committee, but these 2 people were very inactive or not very smart, so they were actually replaced with Joker and Cookie, which was a far better alternative, you know, since they're still here and are admins these days, you know. And it was, for me, it was very strange, like the first couple of times where I had to host training myself. Because usually when we did trainings, like both Yo and Greedy Chris were there, so it was like, it was all good, you know, there was nothing to worry about. They knew what to do and shit. Guys, line up over here. Yeah, you heard him, guys. Go line up over there. But I remember the very first time I was actually hosting a training myself, and it was very spooky because I was gonna do scrim training, so we went to everybody's favorite map, Town Guard, and we were in British spawn. I told everybody, yeah, okay, line up against the wall. We're gonna, you know, pick the teams, and then we're gonna have a little inner clan scrim here. It's gonna be a good time, don't worry about it. But then somebody stabbed the wall and realized that, you know, some very funny colored smoke came out from the wall, so he was like, oh guys, look at this. You can stab the wall and some funny smoke comes out. So suddenly everybody was stabbing the wall to watch this smoke come out, and I was standing there, so yeah guys, this training help. But in the early months we did do a couple of scrims against other clans, mostly the 47th, because they were people we knew, and even like back then we were kinda still close with them, so whenever like they didn't have enough, one of our guys even joined their side of the team to even things out. And the community of Battlegrounds too was also, it was a very hostile environment. Like, it's not like today where, you know, you're sitting on every clan's like Discord and are allowed to like sit and talk and shit like that. Like, you weren't invited to some other clan's TeamSpeak or shit like that. And same if you like, you know, went to their forums, they usually had like a setup section like, this is where you schedule matches with us and shit like that. Like, it wasn't as friendly as it is today. I mean, even though I know some of you are very like, oh, this clan they said this, and oh, this clan did that. I mean, it's nothing compared to the old days. I mean, you could join somebody's server and maybe not line up fast enough, and you were banned permanently. That's how rough things were back then. But we still managed to thrive, and 2011 was coming up, which and throughout 2011 we grew a lot, and it was kind of like when our prime was back in BG2. I would say it was 2011, because we did have a lot of matches. We took part in a lot, and Danny, who was one of the committee members, started a Arma 2 section. But then of course later, when Viper rejoined and Danny was away, he took this Arma 2 section away, and when Danny came back, this Arma 2 section was somewhere else in another community. And you know, it's one of those things that I don't remember exactly when it happened, only that it happened in 2011, because that was information that existed on our second forum, and our second forum is gone. Like, everything that was on that forum is completely lost to time. But members that did join us in 2011 though was in June we had Jojan join when he was just 11 or something like that. Today he's like 50. In October Jetty joined. In November Shine joined, and in December Fireboy. And with Shine and Fireboy, they actually became part of the first American committee. But I think this pretty much wraps up the beginning of everything, and I will save the rest of the BG2 section, which, you know, is pretty much the fall, but I will save that for the next video. So yeah, anyways, peace out, yo. I mean, what's going on?